What's going on, everyone? I'm finally back with another video after a long while. Today I'll be taking a look at one of my favorite kind of mice, true fingertip mice. These polarizing shapes force the user to only use their fingertips when aiming, which in my opinion is the best grip to use while aiming due to the ease of making micro adjustments. To be a true fingertip mouse, the shape has to be intentionally small to shed extra weight. You can see that it's much smaller than a normal sized mouse. It really only provides the absolute necessary surface for your fingers. In other words, they're just really small. So in this video, I'll be going over the top 5 true fingertip mice that I've used based on shape, performance, and feel. I'll start from the bottom and work my way up to my all-time favorite, going through the pros and cons and giving a rating to each as I go. So starting off at number 5, we have the Gwolf's Fenrir Max. This mouse was released in early 2025 along with the Fenrir ASIM, which I will talk about later. It's the classic Gwolf's F-tip shape and sports a PAW 3950 sensor and a sub 24 gram weight. The pros of the Fenrir Max are the clicks and the weight. Gwolf's, in my opinion, has some of the best click implementations of any mouse I've tried, and I've said this many times before in my other reviews. They always feel incredibly premium and perfect for F-tip mice, as they are not too light and not too heavy, and it's very important for F-tip mice to find that sweet spot since click activation can affect your aim. The weight is probably the best part of this mouse, as it comes in at under 24 grams, which is absolutely ridiculous. It really feels like you're holding nothing in game. And just like the clicks, weight is also very important with F-tip mice because you want to be able to move it freely with just your fingertips and not using your whole hand or your whole arm. Unfortunately though, that does just about do it for the pros. The performance is also great, but the performance on all these mice are up to par with industry standards, so it doesn't really make it stand out too much. For the cons of this mouse, the coating and the shape are not too great in my opinion. Unlike the click implementation, the coating on Gwolf's mice has not been the best recently. The material they use is very light, but it's very slippery when using the mouse, and you definitely need grips, for which it does come with, but I prefer to not use them if possible. Surprisingly, the shape is also not great on this mouse. It just doesn't really have enough to hold on to in my opinion. On paper, this does look like a perfect shape for an F-tip mouse, but for some reason I really just couldn't get around it. The coating on it really does feel like it's falling out of my hands constantly. So for the build quality, the weight, and the click implementation alone, this mouse does get a 3.5 out of 5 for me, but compared to the other mice on this list, it just isn't that great and I wouldn't choose it from the bunch. Next up is a surprising dark horse pick, the Keychron M4 4K. This mouse released last year and has even been upgraded now with a new sensor and up to 8K polling. This one only goes up to 4K. The 4K version sports a 3395 and comes in at 35 grams, which is a little bit heavy for a fingertip mouse, but I do still love it. For the pros of this mouse, the clicks, the shape, and the build quality are all top notch. You'll notice in the rest of this video that I really do value click implementation, and it's very good on this mouse. The clicks, similarly to the Fenrir Max, have a great weight to them, but are much more tactile, which I really do like. They're very satisfying to press, which improves the experience a lot. This thing is also built like an absolute tank, which explains the weight. The walls are very thick and there is practically no flex at all on the clicks or the main housing, so you can grip the shit out of it and it really doesn't matter. The shape is also surprisingly a pro on this mouse. It is such a small mouse and by far the smallest in this group of mice. You can see here that it is much less wide than the Pulsar X2F, and it also has a little bit less length. Because it's so small, it almost feels like you're drawing with a pencil and pointing where you want to aim on screen as opposed to using a full-size mouse. This thing also comes in at a great price, and you can get it on Amazon with Prime too, so it'll ship to your house next day if you have Prime. For the cons of this mouse, the coating, the scroll wheel, and in other ways, the shape are not the best. The coating is super average, and like the Fenrir Max, I felt the need to add grips to this mouse. You can see that I did do that. It's definitely better than the Gwolf's coating, but it's still not super great. The scroll wheel is also very hard to click, and it's probably because of how small it is. I know the mouse is tiny, but they could have made it slightly bigger and easier to press. Again, this is very important on F-tip mice since a really hard click can affect your aim a lot, so that could be a big improvement to this mouse, is to make the scroll wheel bigger and easier to press. Lastly, the shape does have some drawbacks, even though in general it's good. The divots on the side are a little annoying, and I think that flatter sides would do this mouse well. If the sides were more flat, I would really have no complaints, but alas, it does have that sort of hourglass shape. Overall, I'd give this mouse a rating of 3.5 as well, but it is definitely better than the Fenrir Max. It's just in the same tier, if you will. Since they released a new version of it, it might even be better, so I might have to give that one a shot as well, but for this version, it's getting a 3.5. Coming in at number 3, we have the sister to the Fenrir Max, the Fenrir ASIM from Gwolf's. The specs on this mouse are almost identical to the Fenrir Max, but it is slightly lighter, coming in at about 20 grams. The pros of this mouse are, again, the clicks, the weight, and most importantly, the shape. Just like the clicks on the Fenrir Max, these clicks are stellar. As always, Gwolf's has great click implementations on their mice. Same goes for the mouse wheel. It feels smooth, and it's just about perfect for an F-tip mouse. The weight is also a pro. It's insanely light, and it's the lightest of these mice. And in general, with F-tip mice and just mice in general, the lighter the better, so it's great that this is such a light mouse. The biggest pro though is for sure the shape of the mouse. When I bought the two Fenrirs together, I really thought that the Max was going to be way more up my alley, but the little wing on the ASIM made a huge difference during gameplay. It really gives you something to pull back on with your pinky, giving you much more stability. It also mitigates the drawbacks of the coating as you can get a really good grip on the mouse with it. I also like how low profile the mouse is. It also gives that sensation of drawing or pointing at the screen since it's so thin at the front of the mouse. Really great job from G-Wolves on this one. It's almost my favorite mouse from them, but not quite. The cons of this mouse, again, the coating is coming into play along with a little bit of a lackluster battery life. In general, I just think G-Wolves doesn't value a good coating because you can always put grips on your mouse. I get it, but I'd much rather have a mouse that comes with a good coating so you can avoid adding a lot of weight to the mouse with grips. The battery life was also pretty bad on this mouse. It obviously has a tiny battery to achieve that super low weight, and it shows. At 8K, you have to charge the mouse after one session, which to me is way too short. Overall, though, this mouse gets a 4.0 out of 5 for me. I love the shape on it, and it was a huge surprise to me. In general, I really do love G-Wolves mice, and this is another one of their greats. Coming in at number 2, it's the last G-Wolves mouse, I promise, the HTR. This mouse released earlier than the former G-Wolves mice and has a lower gen sensor with the 3395 and comes in at just under 35 grams with the putty and grips that I've put on it. This mouse is a very unique shape because G-Wolves decided to include molding putty with it, which allows you to create any shape you want. So for the pros and cons of this mouse, keep in mind that I took a lot of time to tune the shape to my liking, and I put some aftermarket grips on it as well. So for the pros, the HTR again has incredible clicks, a great shape, weight, and build quality. Just like the other G-Wolves mice, of course, the clicks are great on this mouse. No need for further explanation. They are perfect for F-tip and have just enough weight for my liking. As for the shape, it is very unique when you get it out of the box. It's almost like a little egg and acts as a canvas for you to make your own shape on. Without any changes, the shape is pretty awful and has very little surface area to hold on to, but with the putty that I put on it, it has an asymmetrical shape that I really do love. I've realized that most of the time I do like wider F-tip mice, and so adding this putty to the side gave me something more that I could really grip onto. The weight is pretty good too, as it's under 40 grams, perfect for an F-tip mice, as the lighter the better. I know that I said earlier that 35 grams is a little bit heavy for an F-tip mouse, but honestly, I don't really mind it too much. Lastly, the build quality is impressively good on this mouse. It has no side flex, especially since I got the non-honeycombed version. I definitely recommend that because the grips that you inevitably have to put on it are going to last much longer than on the honeycomb version. For the cons of the mouse, honestly, the shape out of the box cannot be ignored, and the coating without grips is terrible. Like I said, I had to make a lot of changes to this mouse to make it usable, but once I did, I really loved it, which makes sense for what G-Wolves was going for. This mouse is really something that's meant to be customized, not used straight up. I have seen a lot of people online who like the shape out of the box, but for me, it really just was awful. The coating without grips, just like the other G-Wolves mice, is pretty terrible. Again, like I said, I don't think G-Wolves really cares about coating. They just want to make light mice. I do respect it, but something to keep in mind. Overall, with grips and putty, this mouse is easily a 4.0 out of 5 and is so much fun to use. I've been back using this mouse playing Battlefield 6, and I think it's a great fit for FPS gaming. Real quick, I want to talk about a couple honorable mentions, the Dharmashark M5 and the WL Mouse Meow. The Dharmashark M5 is a great budget F-tip mouse and is a very safe shape, and in another video, I recommended that if you're a first-time F-tip user to pick up this mouse. But besides the safe shape, the clicks are not that great, and again, the coating is pretty bad on this mouse. Definitely want to take into consideration, but I do think the other 5 that I've been through are better than this one. The biggest surprise out of all of these mice is that the WL Mouse Meow was really a miss for me. I think it honestly came down to the shape, which is very surprising because it looks like a mouse that I would really enjoy using. For some reason, I really just didn't feel comfortable on it. Sometimes when you're using a mouse, you really can't pinpoint what it is, but you just don't really like it, and that's how I felt about this mouse. On top of that, the coating on the magnesium is not very grippy at all, and I have pretty sweaty hands, so I felt the need to put grips on it. But the grips that they include are also pretty slick, so really it just didn't feel good. Lastly, there's already a good amount of side flex on it, and it's made out of magnesium. It actually squeaks a little bit. I'm not sure if my mic's going to be able to pick that up, but the build quality is not super great on this mouse, so really it was just a miss for me, which I was super surprised about. I do want to say though, WL Mouse makes other mice that I really do enjoy, such as the Beast X Max and the Beast X Mini, so definitely take a look at those, but for this one, I really didn't like it. And finally, coming in at number 1, it is absolutely my favorite F-tip mouse. It is the Pulsar X2F. From the clicks to the coating, and most importantly, the shape, this mouse really incorporates almost everything that I want in an F-tip mouse. It has a top-of-the-line sensor, 8K polling, and comes in on the heavier side of F-tip mice at 38 grams. Again, as I've repeated many times, the clicks on this mouse are amazing. Although they are not as good as those on the G-Wolves mice, they are still great for F-tip play and much better than the clicks on other Pulsar mice that I've tried, which were horrible. I do wish they were a bit more snappy, but they don't have too much pre or post travel, so they are more than good enough for me. Coating is by far the best on all of the mice on this list. I don't feel the need for grips at all when I'm using it, and in conjunction with the larger shape, you can really get a grip on the mouse very well. That brings me to its best attribute, the shape. It is essentially the classic small to mid-sized mouse shape that is so popular nowadays, but just chopped in half. It has flat sides and large clicks and feels perfect in my hands. It's very natural to use, and I don't feel out of place at all when I switch to using it, which happens often with these smaller F-tip mice. The cons of this mouse, there really aren't many. The clicks could theoretically be a bit better, and the sides could be completely flat. As you can see, there is a little bit of curvature to them. It's not totally flat. It also could be a little bit lighter. Like I said, it comes in at 38 grams, which is on the heavier side for an F-tip mouse. Besides those small improvements, I really can't see much wrong with it. Of course, there is always room for improvement in those areas, so I'll give it a 4.5 out of 5, but damn, is this mouse good. Overall, I really do love these mice. F-tip mice have been a passion of mine for a very long time now, so I can't help but enjoy a little tiny guy while playing. Definitely check out these mice if you're interested, and let me know your thoughts if you decide to pick one up. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. I'll try and make more reviews more often than I have in the past, but you know, life gets in the way sometimes. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.
Hey,